Never hate your enemies. It clouds your judgment. Niccolo Machiavelli. Every powerful mind knows this truth. Emotion is the easiest way to lose control. The ruthless don't play fair. They play strategically. They don't fight battles. They orchestrate them. Every word, every silence, every move is a calculation. And if you can't see the board, you're already someone else's pawn. Today, we enter the world of ruthless strategy, where human nature is a weapon, and the smartest player always wins. From birth, you were told that being good would make life fair, that kindness would return kindness, that honesty would bring reward. But step into the real world, and you'll see that morality is not currency here. Power is. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should appear virtuous but never be bound by virtue, because virtue, real moral virtue, is a weakness in a world ruled by perception. It's not that morality is meaningless. It's that morality is a mask worn by those who understand how others worship it. The masses obey rules they didn't write. They live inside cages built from their own guilt. They fear being seen as cruel, selfish, or ambitious. So they shrink their power and call it goodness. But behind every powerful empire, every wealthy dynasty, every successful man, there lies a willingness to do what others won't. The illusion of morality keeps you compliant. You are trained to seek approval instead of victory, to please rather than dominate. And while you play by rules, others are writing them, and you know how the powerful create. PAWNS control is not maintained through force. It's maintained through belief. Those in power know this. They don't need to chain you. They just need you to believe you're free. Every system, political, corporate, religious, operates like a chessboard. A few players move the pieces, and the pieces think they're moving themselves. Society whispers, be fair, be patient, be humble, but those who rise whisper something else. Be strategic. The powerful manufacture obedience by rewarding compliance. They make you proud of your own submission. They give you promotions for silence, applause for conformity, and validation for weakness. It's a psychological trick. When you attach emotion to obedience, you'll defend your own cage. The Roman Senate once tried to contain Julius Caesar with tradition, titles, and oaths of loyalty. But Caesar saw through it. He knew loyalty built on fear collapses in chaos, while loyalty built on ambition can be manipulated. So he gave his soldiers gold, land, and glory. And when the Senate demanded he return to Rome as a civilian, his army followed him instead. That march, one man crossing the Rubicon, ended the Republic and birthed an empire. He played the Senate like pawns because he understood the game. Power is not seized by those who ask permission. It's taken by those who realize permission is the first illusion of control. Listen, the psychology of obedience and fear. Fear is the invisible hand that moves most men. It's not always the fear of pain. Sometimes it's the fear of being disliked, rejected, or alone. The greatest manipulators don't threaten you. They make you threaten yourself. Think of the Milgram experiment in 1961. Ordinary people were told to administer electric shocks onto strangers when ordered by a man in a lab coat. They hesitated, but they obeyed, even when they believed they were causing real pain. Why? Because authority felt safer than conscience. This is how the game is played. The world rewards obedience with comfort and punishes rebellion with isolation. But that comfort is bait. The obedient never lead, they are led. Those who control fear control the masses, and those who control their own fear control themselves. When Alexander the Great faced his first mutiny, his army was exhausted and near rebellion. Instead of pleading, he stripped off his armor, bared his scars, and said, "I've fought with you, bled with you. Whoever wishes to return home, go. But know that Greece will remember those who stayed." Silence. Then loyalty. He turned fear into fire, not through emotion, but through psychological command. He didn't beg for respect. He engineered it. Don't forget the hidden laws of the game. If you wish to rise, you must see what others deny. That every human interaction is a subtle power exchange. The smile of a politician, the compliment of a boss, the kindness of a stranger. All are moves on a board. Some are bait, some are tests, some are traps. Machiavelli called this virtù, the ability to shape events rather than be shaped by them. To the weak, life happens. To the strong, life is designed. This is the hidden law. Power flows to those who understand perception. You don't need brute strength. You need psychological accuracy. The ruthless don't reveal intent. They shape it. They don't argue for control. They make control seem natural. When Otto von Bismarck unified Germany, he didn't win through war alone. He mastered realpolitik, bending diplomacy, misinformation, and controlled conflict to his will. He created enemies just to unite allies against them. He didn't destroy opposition, he used it. The weak react emotionally. The strong respond strategically. The weak chase validation. The strong command perception. When you see this truth, you stop asking, "Why are people like this?" You start asking, "How can I use this?" There's a reason Machiavelli compared power to a chessboard. The pawns see the next step. The king sees 10, but the grandmaster sees not just the moves. He sees the psychology behind them. You must train your mind to see beyond words, into motives. Observe who needs validation, who fears rejection, who hungers for attention. Those needs are levers of control. Every human reveals their weakness through what they can't hide, their emotions. The ruthless learn not to react. They listen more than they speak. They delay before they decide, because patience is not passivity. It's pressure in disguise. Look at Sun Tzu's Art of War. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. That's not deceit. It's strategy. Because perception wins wars long before the first strike. The man who understands this game stops being emotional about power. He stops expecting fairness. He stops fighting to be liked, and starts fighting to be effective. The world you live in isn't fair or unfair. It's strategic. Those who see the patterns rise. Those who don't repeat history. The truth is brutal but liberating. You've never lived in a moral world. You've lived in a psychological battlefield. And every interaction, every negotiation, every argument, every silence is a move on the board. Now, you have two choices. Continue believing the illusion of fairness, or open your eyes to the architecture of control. Because once you see the board clearly, you'll never move the same way again. If an injury has to be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. Niccolò Machiavelli. Ruthlessness is not cruelty. It's precision, the ability to strike once decisively and never again. It's emotional discipline turned into power, where every move is chosen for impact, not impulse. Those who misunderstand ruthlessness think it means savagery. They confuse violence with strategy, dominance with chaos. But the true ruthless player knows. Brutality without purpose destroys power. Calculated ruthlessness creates it. The powerful never fight every battle. They choose the few that shape the board. They never act from emotion. They let emotion cloud their enemies. And while others react in rage or pride, they move in silence, clarity, and timing. First, make the ruthless mindset. Ruthlessness begins in the mind, not the fist. It's the art of detaching emotion from execution. Where others seek to prove something, the strategist seeks only to win. Machiavelli wrote that men should be either caressed or crushed, not because cruelty is noble, but because half measures breed revenge. Mercy without control invites rebellion. Discipline without decisiveness invites disrespect. Consider Genghis Khan. When rival tribes betrayed him, he didn't respond with blind slaughter. He studied them, their alliances, their strengths, their fears. Then he struck with precision, eliminating leaders, sparing the useful, absorbing their armies. His ruthlessness wasn't random. It was architected. Every empire builder shared this mindset. They didn't destroy for pleasure. They destroyed to send a message. Defy me once, and it will never happen again. The modern man can learn from this. You don't need to conquer nations, but you must command your presence. When people test your limits, hesitation teaches them they can. A single act of firm ruthlessness, silence, withdrawal, refusal, will earn more respect than a lifetime of compromise. Ruthlessness isn't about breaking people. It's about showing the world you cannot be broken. You have control. Pawns through perception. Power begins in the mind, but it's maintained through perception. People don't see reality. They see what they're told to believe. And the one who shapes that belief controls the game. A Machiavellian never asks, "What is true?" He asks, "What must they believe is true for me to win?" This is why the most dangerous players rarely show their cards. They use ambiguity as armor. They let others assume, interpret, and underestimate, while they move undetected beneath the noise. Napoleon Bonaparte mastered this art. He projected an image of invincibility so strong that even his enemies feared his shadow. He exaggerated victories, rewrote losses, and fed his army legends of destiny. His soldiers didn't just fight. They believed they were chosen, and belief wins more battles than swords. Every relationship, every negotiation, every encounter is theater. Your posture, tone, silence. Each one builds perception. If you appear confident, you control attention. If you appear uncertain, you give control away. In a world where most people broadcast insecurity, confidence becomes currency. The ruthless player doesn't just speak with strength. He embodies it. He never explains too much, never defends, never reacts. Because the moment you defend your image, you've already lost it. Let others show emotion. You show control, because in human psychology, control equals power. Remember the principle psychological warfare. Once you understand control, the next step is manipulation, not through force but through psychological choreography. Every tactic in the ruthless arsenal is designed to exploit predictable human behavior. The world runs on patterns, desire, fear, pride, guilt, and the strategist learns to play them like instruments. People love their reflection, mirror their energy, values, and tone, and they'll trust you. Then, once their guard is down, steer their direction. This was the tactic of Talleyrand, Napoleon's diplomat. He agreed, flattered, and mirrored until his rivals relaxed, and then negotiated circles around them. Control the narrative first, and the outcome follows. If you define the truth, others will obey it without question. This is how Julius Caesar turned a rebellion into a defense of Rome. He framed his invasion as loyalty and won both war and history. Pretend to lose interest, show vulnerability. It makes others overextend, reveal their hand, their greed, their arrogance. Sun Tzu wrote, "Appear weak when you are strong." The ruthless use this to exhaust opponents before striking. When others rush to fill silence, they reveal their fears. When you delay your answer, you magnify your value. The pause before your words is a throne. Sit on it. Let your target feel in control. Give them a small victory, a compliment, a concession. Then, when their ego inflates, strike at the weak point they exposed. The master of psychological warfare is patient. He doesn't react to moves. He lets others trap themselves with their own desires. The battlefield of the modern world isn't land or politics. It's attention, emotion, and perception. Win there, and you rule silently. Maintain the balance of fear and respect. To command loyalty, one must understand the ancient equation: too much fear breeds rebellion. Too much love breeds disobedience. Balance is power. Machiavelli asked the timeless question, is it better to be loved or feared? His answer, both. But if you must choose, be feared. The ruthless understand that people respect what they can't predict. Predictability breeds familiarity. Familiarity breeds contempt. The moment you become easy to read, you become easy to control. Vlad III of Wallachia, known as Vlad the Impaler, ruled through terror. He turned his land into a symbol of untouchable dread, impaling invaders along the roads so no army dared enter. He was cruel, yes, but strategic. Surrounded by stronger enemies, he weaponized fear as deterrence. In contrast, Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, ruled through composed strength. His soldiers respected him not because of violence, but because of unwavering calm. He balanced mercy with discipline, earning both love and authority. The modern strategist learns from both. In leadership, business, or relationships, fear commands attention, respect commands loyalty. Together they create presence, a power that needs no introduction. When you walk into a room, people must feel two things. They want your approval, and they fear your disappointment. That's not arrogance, that's design. Ruthlessness in public is suicide. Society punishes visible dominance, but secretly worships it. That's why every great manipulator wears the mask of virtue. Machiavelli warned, a prince must appear merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, and religious, but he must be ready to act otherwise when necessity commands. Perception of goodness is protection. If people believe you're moral, they'll excuse your power. If they believe you're dangerous, they'll plot your downfall. Queen Elizabeth thus mastered this art. She played the image of a virgin, pure and loyal to England, while quietly maneuvering assassinations, espionage, and propaganda. Her virtue was armor. Her mind was steel. She smiled at her enemies and buried them under diplomacy. The same principle applies today. The ruthless modern man must wear masks: calm, charm, empathy. While beneath, calculation. He helps when it benefits him, agrees when it gains leverage, and withdraws when power shifts. Never show the full depth of your ambition. Never reveal the darkness behind your smile. Because the game rewards those who act righteous and think ruthless. Ruthlessness is not evil. It is clarity stripped of emotion. It is the refusal to play fair in a world that never was. The truly ruthless are not the loudest, nor the cruelest. They're the calm ones. The ones who smile while others panic, who wait while others rush, who plan while others pray. The power of the ruthless mind lies not in destruction, but in design. To see through illusion, to manipulate without hate, to conquer without noise. Because in the end, as Machiavelli whispered to princes and generals alike, fortune favors the bold and the calculated. Once Machiavelli said, "Power is not taken, it is perceived." Niccolo Machiavelli. Most people think power comes from dominance, from loud voices, public displays, and visible control. But Machiavelli knew a secret. True power hides itself. The greatest players in history never needed to declare their authority. They made others feel it. Because once people believe you hold power, you don't have to prove it. They will hand you control themselves. First, control illusion of mind. Power is not about having control. It's about making others believe they are free, while every choice they make leads exactly where you want. In the Renaissance courts of Florence, the Medici family mastered this game. They didn't always sit on the throne, but they controlled those who did. Through patronage, favors, and quiet manipulation, they placed their allies in every position of influence. Kings came and went, but the Medici hand remained steady behind the curtain. They didn't demand power, they designed it. The lesson is ancient. The visible crown is not the real throne. The truly powerful wear masks, not to deceive maliciously, but to survive strategically. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince that a ruler must learn how not to be good. Not because evil is admirable, but because purity without perception is suicide. Caesar understood this. He charmed the people with generosity, spoke of democracy, and claimed he was restoring the republic. But behind the smiles and laurels, every move was a chess step toward absolute rule. He made Rome want his leadership, and when they gave it to him willingly, he became unstoppable. That's the paradox. Those who seem harmless are often the most dangerous, because they've mastered the art of appearing less powerful than they are, then control the emotional camouflage. Emotion exposes you. Show too much and people see where to strike. Show too little and they think you have none, and that unnerves them even more. Napoleon understood this duality perfectly. In public, he could explode with righteous fury, a fire that inspired loyalty. But in private, he was ice. Every word, every silence, every gesture was calculated. He used emotion as a weapon to confuse, to disarm, to control. That's not coldness. That's discipline disguised as chaos. So remember this. The powerful don't suppress emotion. They schedule it. They let others drown in theirs while they sail above, calm and calculating. The main power is the power of absence. Sometimes the most commanding move is to disappear. In a world obsessed with noise, silence becomes dominance. When Queen Elizabeth faced conspiracies and chaos, she often withdrew, observing from a distance. Her courtiers mistook her silence for weakness, but it was in that silence that she measured loyalty, let her rivals expose themselves, and returned only when her presence would hit like thunder. She learned that absence creates intrigue, and intrigue creates control. When people can't predict you, they can't prepare for you. Mystery is magnetic. It forces others to fill in the blanks with fear, admiration, or both. Control the influence without authority. The most dangerous kind of power doesn't sit on a throne. It whispers beside it. History remembers the kings, but it's the advisors, lovers, and shadows who often pull the strings. Cardinal Richelieu ruled France under a king's name, but it was his words, not the crown, that shaped the kingdom's fate. He understood that visible power creates enemies, while invisible influence creates dependency. Machiavelli would have smiled, because this was his doctrine come alive. To rule effectively, appear secondary. To control deeply, appear loyal. The masses chase recognition. They want validation, visibility, applause. But the true strategist values something rarer: control over outcomes. They don't care who gets the credit. They care who makes the decision. That's why invisible power lasts longer than fame. Empires fall, names fade, but systems of control, ideas, beliefs, loyalties, outlive the bodies that created them. So if you wish to rise, stop trying to be seen. Be felt. Let your words travel through others' mouths, your ideas through others' minds, until the world moves in your rhythm without realizing who's conducting the music. Machiavelli didn't write for kings alone. He wrote for thinkers, for those who understand that power is a mental game before it's a political one. You don't need an army to control people. You need perception, patience, and precision. Remember this: power that's visible can be challenged. Power that's invisible becomes immortal. In the end, invisible power is the highest form of control. It doesn't shout, it whispers. The world may see the crown, but the true ruler is the mind behind it. Those who master perception rule without resistance, influence without visibility, and leave their mark not in names or monuments, but in the way others think.